Hello, this is Siri and you're listening to my favorite podcast, Not Real Art. I live for this shit cause it's totally lit.
Let's go!
Not Real Art, the podcast.
Man one over here, and over there is.
Make up a name.
Are you still? Oh man, we can't think of a name that quick.
No, just call me Mr.X.
Mr.X for right now.
For right now, that's what I'll be today.
Yeah, we'll stick with that.
So there's a big show happening in LA right now.
Yeah,
At least that's what the billboards say. And the ads at LAX and so on and so forth. And you and I went to it.
That's right. We were there. What was
it? We were there
it?
for the
VIP opening.
VIP. Boy, we are fancy.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. Beyond the Streets.
Yep.
Curated by Mr. Gastman, Roger Gastman, author, historian, filmmaker, and he curated the Art in the Street show, or helped to curate.
Yeah,
Art
one
in
of the
Street
three
show,
curators.
back at Mocha years ago, and has decided to create another show, kind of inspired by that same model, I would say.
Totally.
And I don't know, you and I were there. A lot of people were there.
Right.
It's open for, I don't know, until
2 months.
July or something.
Yeah.
And it's about 40, well, how many square feet is that building?
I don't know. It's
20,000 square feet at
more,
least.
I think more than that.
Yeah,
Probably
maybe
40,000.
I heard 40,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
maybe something like that.
Okay, 40,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah. And so what were you expecting? Like, going, we'll talk about the show. We'll talk about, obviously what we thought or what have you. Good, bad, and indifferent. I can talk, in terms of obviously my experience, but as an artist, I'm curious, what your thoughts were going into the show.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts at the show? And then, of course, after the show, as you've continued to process it and think about it, if you have.
Right.
What's your assessment?
Well, I mean, when I go to a show like this, I don't have a lot of expectations going into it.
Yep.
I don't, I'm not, once in a while there's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see so-and-so's piece,
Mm-hmm.
or I heard there's a new installation, blah, blah, blah. This one, I didn't really have anything I was looking forward to seeing. It kind of felt like, I'm probably going to recognize everything in there. I'm probably going to already have seen it, or it'll be a new take on something that I've already seen. And that was pretty much how I felt about it once I saw the show. It was a fun show. I think that's my best way to describe it. I had a lot of fun there. I thought the art was fun. There was a lot of playful stuff. There was a lot of color. There was a lot of big things, interesting things. So in terms of that, I think it was a fun show. It was like a big party. It's like when you go to a party and then someone tells you, "Oh, how was the DJ?" or, "How was the lighting?" and you're like, "I don't know, it was just fun."
Right.
Like I didn't go there to fucking be mesmerized by the DJ, but of course that would have been a different party, right? If I would have gone to the party because
Sure.
so and so was spinning and I wanted to, be moved by that DJ, and that didn't happen, then I would have felt, oh man, they let me down. But I didn't go with that expectation. I went with the expectation of just gonna have a good time, just check it out, have a good time, and enjoy what's up, and enjoy the experience. And to me, that's what it was. It was a big party. It was a big, well put together party. Very well organized.
3 years in the making, I heard.
That's what I heard too. Yeah. And even though it was 3 years in the making, I know there was a lot of artists that were thrown in last minute.
Right.
that always happens, that's usual. And yeah, but I wasn't expecting to see people that I've never seen before, or expecting to see people that, like I wasn't going, for example, at the Art in the Street show in Mocha, to me that was a different thing, because that was like, it's a museum making a statement, and I was very critical of that show, because I was like, there's people who need to be in the show to represent this culture, and they're important, and they were left out, But that was a whole different thing. This is just a show. So I'm not critiquing it from that point of view. I'm not critiquing it from the point of view, oh, you guys didn't have so and so in the show, or
it wasn't an academic.
No,
exercise.
it was not academic at all. It's not. This is not the fucking next coming of fucking
right
street art or whatever the fuck. This is just a big show with a bunch of artists who are all, for the most part, pretty good or very good. I will say that was one of the things that I did enjoy about the show, is there wasn't a lot of like really whack shit. Because sometimes you're like, man, this motherfucker, what is he doing here? It's horrible.
Right. Right.
This show was actually, in that sense, there was a very high quality, but in terms of curation, it's not really a curatorial show. It's not making someone was trying to tell me at the show, like, oh, I don't think the curator's making the right statement, or really expressing his statement properly. And I was like, you're thinking way too much about this show. Like you're trying to get way too deep into this show. I just enjoyed it for what it was. And I definitely encourage people to go see it. I think it's a fun show. I think it's, I don't know what it costs to get in. But
I think it's $25.
So, is it worth $25? Well, there's people going to fucking those Instagram fucking museums where they're just like,
the immersive experience.
Yeah, the immersive experience where you get to take a million selfies in front of, ice cream fucking sculptures or something. And they're paying $30 for that. So if you're willing to pay $30 for that, then yeah, go see an art show for $25 to get in. Sure. Sounds like it makes sense.
Well, walking the show with you, it was nice to see how many people were happy to see you there. I mean, you ran into a ton of old friends.
Yeah, it's going to those events. I love them and I hate them, because I love them because, you get to see old friends, you get to see new work, you get to, fucking chop it up with people that you don't get to talk to a lot. But then I hate it because there's so many people I want to talk to. There's so many new people I want to talk to. There's so many, old friends that I want to talk to, and there's just not enough time. We were there like 2 hours, and I was just talking to people left and right. You can't even enjoy the art sometimes. You try to check out a piece of art, and the next thing you know, someone's asking you this or that, which is fine, and you expect that. But yeah, it's a weird thing. And it was funny because people were coming up to me like, "Oh, why aren't you in the show? Where's your piece at?" I'm like, "No, I'm not in the show. I didn't get the invite." So, and then that's a weird thing, because it puts you in a weird situation, because you're there as an artist, but you're also there. How
does that? I mean, let's go there. I mean, how does that feel? I mean, let's be frank, right? I mean, a lot of those artists showed at your gallery for the first time in 02, 03, 04. Right. And some of them have broken out and others haven't, or whatever, but several of them were in this show. You were not in this show.
Sure.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel two different ways at the same time. Number one, I'm really happy to see a lot of my friends and a lot of artists that I, gave a hand to, or a leg up, back in the day. And then now to see them so successful and showing at things like this, that to me, that's awesome. I love it. Like I always tell people that before I'm a graffiti artist, I'm a fan. I'm a graffiti fan first. So a lot of these artists, getting to see them like now being successful is awesome. I love it. At the same time, you think about like, damn, how come I didn't get the invite? How come no one called me to be in the show? Am I, you know,
It's politics, though, right?
well, it's you know, it's totally politics. But at the same time, that doesn't mean it's negative. Like, you know, I know Roger, and you know, we've been on panels together, and I know what he's up to. He knows what I'm up to. If he thought I should be in this show, I'm sure he would have called me, and he didn't. So that's it. I don't take it as a personal thing. I don't take it as a, you know, I also curate. You know, I've curated shows where I'm sure people came into my show and were like, "Oh man, how come he didn't invite so and so?" So as a curator, you have to make decisions, and you have to, you know, you know, you're in command, and you get to choose why someone's in the show as opposed to someone else. But you also have to be able to defend it, you know. And sometimes there's not a good defense, and sometimes there is, you know. So, you know, would I have liked to have been in the show? Of course, you know, any show that is gaining this much attention, as an artist, your ego wants you to be in the show, you know. Am I missing out on anything by not being in the show? I don't think so. I'm comfortable with the lane that I'm in, and you know, I don't need to be in every show. But you know, yeah, once in a while, it's like it'd be nice to someone throw a bone at you.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I mean, logistically, the show was, in my view, impressive as hell.
Totally. Yeah.
The scale of it, you know, we heard that it was 3 years in the making. Totally makes sense. You know, the gift shop alone, in terms of the merchandise. Well, no, let me boil it down further. The book alone, right? The book.
Right. The book. Well, I thought the book was interesting because, you know, since the show, I got the book. I really was happy to walk around and get people to sign my book.
Right.
People that I'll probably never see again. You know, Taki 183 or a lot of these old New York legends that were in the house and whatever. So that was awesome. So for me, it was more just like, you know, it's always cool to have a book, like a catalog of the show. But, you know, I started reading through it and kind of reading some of the stories and whatever. And it was interesting because there's only a few new articles in there, only a few new interviews.
Right.
The majority of it,
It's a compilation of old stuff.
it's totally a compilation.
Yeah.
And even on the front of the book, it says compiled by
Right.
Roger Gastman. So he, you know, it's, I think, you know, I mean, that's the smart way to do it, right? It's like if you're gonna,
Well, and even, but to be fair, right? I mean, just as a when you look at the size of that book,
yeah,
you look at color throughout,
yep,
just from a production standpoint,
yeah, very high production.
getting that file together, getting that book together, and
Absolutely.
the images and the printing. I mean, that alone was a huge endeavor.
Yeah, totally.
And so, right. I mean, on one hand, I'm sure someone said, "Oh, we'll just compile
Yeah,
stuff. It'll be easy."
it'd be easy. No, it's not
I
easy.
mean, it might be easier than
Then all new content. but-
writing a whole new book, but the book alone was a feat of logistical competence, and I mean, look, it's a solid book.
Totally. No, I think it's you know, it shows kind of the level of professionalism and the level of you know, expertise that Roger has, especially in productions like this, you know.
Sure.
Because yeah, I mean,
Well, this is his fourth or fifth book too, right? I mean,
he's done probably way more books
Yeah,
than that.
okay.
He's done so many books.
right.
So, you know, I mean, even though he's done a lot of books, I mean, it's still not an easy thing to put a book together.
Not at all.
So anytime someone
Sure.
is, you know, producing books like this, you know, my hat's off to them, because that's
Well,
a
point
big
of
achievement.
contact. I've worked in publishing for 10 years, right? So
Right.
I've got, I don't know, 60 books
Okay.
under my belt.
Right.
I've written 5 books.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate.
Sure.
And by the way, our books were primarily black and white,
Right.
4-color covers, black and white, maybe some illustrations. But I mean, the book that the Beyond the Streets book that he put together was, I mean, how many pages is that damn thing? I mean, it's
it's a lot.
A couple hundred pages,
Full
color, larger format.
Yeah.
So yeah, having worked in publishing, I appreciate, so that's what struck me though about the show is the size of it, the scale of it,
right,
the logistics behind it.
Sure.
I mean, people need to understand that there were very site-specific installations built on site, replicas of handball courts, replicas of skate parks from Venice Beach, for example. So a lot of thought, a lot of energy, a lot of money put into the fabrication. Well, the design, the thinking, the design, the fabrication, installation of these interactive pieces, right? It was immersive, it was experiential. I mean, these words now, we bump into them all the time.
Yeah.
It feels like we're living in this selfie time, this selfie generation. And so having, experiential, immersive installations that people can take a selfie with is the thing. So we're seeing that now, kind of come into the art world, so to speak. And the show definitely borrowed that currency and what have you. My issue with the show. And let me be clear. Like I think the show gets, A+ marks in terms of the level of detail. Like I said, the logistics. I mean, the gift shop alone, the merch, all that stuff. All high marks. But I think for me, the negative was. It was as I've, and this thought occurred to me afterwards, thinking about it. It's like, I wasn't like surprised.
Yeah.
There was nothing really there that surprised me. There was some novelty there. There was something that were kind of novel, risks,
cool stuff.
Cutting a cop car in half,
right.
Was something to behold and fun. And, was it revolutionary in terms of a new take on an art form? Yeah, who knows? It's debatable. I'm not that smart. I can't, debate those things.
Sure.
But, so, and there were some fun novel pieces there that that made me smile, that made me, point and laugh and take a photo or whatever. But in hindsight, as I've, kind of thought about the show the last few days, I don't know that there was anything truly unexpected about it.
Right. And the other thing, not only just not unexpected, but, and I think this is a bigger issue going on right now with the context of what street art is and the growth and the mainstreaming of this type of art form and graffiti and everything, is that I think there's a lot of lack of substance in artwork being created right now, just in general, just generally speaking. There's, whereas before, the difference between, highbrow and lowbrow, right, was highbrow was super critical and thinking and blah, blah, blah. Cerebral. And then, it was called lowbrow because, you didn't have to fucking think. And it was just cool, whatever. Well, now we're at a point where the art is being elevated to a form of, or to a different status, where now it's supposed to be looked at in a critical way. It's supposed to be looked at in a cerebral way, but the content is not there, and the subject matter falls flat if you look at it that way.
Right.
And so is that part of like where we are in society? Is that the problem? Is that we have
in our soundbite culture, right?
So it's like, it's like is it reflecting the times? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is it
Yeah.
reflecting? Is this art reflecting the times, or is this art? Because to me, this art was always ahead of the times.
Yeah.
You know, definitely it was in the times because you're calling out stuff and you're making people think in that way. But it's ahead of the times because you're providing hope or you're providing something that's not out there already. But you know, so I think in that sense, it's hard to have shows like this because, for example, a few months ago or whenever it was, they had that Into Action show.
Yep.
And that was curated with a very specific point of view, very politically minded pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that show,
activist,
very activist.
Yeah.
And I really liked that show because you walked in and there was an experience. It wasn't sure there were some pieces that would make great selfies and whatever, but there was really a lot of thinking and you could see it. And I mean, I saw people really looking at the work like, oh wow, I'm taking it in.
Right.
You know, oh, I'm trying to read it. I'm trying to make this out.
It was saying something.
It was saying something. As opposed to this show, there might be some artists that are trying to say something, but it gets lost. It gets lost in the whole vanity of it.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that, you know, if you're trying to look at it from a higher point of view in terms of what's the landscape of art right now,
Mm-hmm.
well, we're in a selfie generation, and that's evident.
So, and this I think was I want to explore the conversation at another time.
Yeah.
About is street art the new pop art? You know,
Right.
to the extent that pop art is about popular culture and
Yep.
you know, accessible, light fare, if you will. You know, cotton candy, cultural cotton candy.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's an interesting kind of thing to think about. But not right now. We're out of time.
Yeah. It's not real art.
Man one in the house.
See you later, bro.
All right, late.
Peace out.